Madeline Finn is in the studio with us, and she just came from a songwriters in the round night as well.
Yeah,
so I don't know if this will be sort of like a rehearsal. That was like a rehearsal for this, or maybe it'll just feel like very deja vu. But
no, it'll be great. I love talking.
That's perfect. What was that?
Like music stuff. So today's topic was PROs, licensing and publishing for music. And so we had a bunch of really cool local artists come, and we talk for about 2 hours and answer questions and just kind of support each other.
I really love, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but I feel like so often we see a lot of musicians that are just very passionate about music as a hobby, but I feel like you are so extremely passionate about music as a job, and have really like based, your entire life around music and creating music and helping other people find their voice as well. So that's amazing. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But one of the main reasons that you're in studio today is because you have a brand new EP out called Coleraine Mansion.
Yes.
And tell us just a little bit about maybe some of the ideas behind this EP and why you decided to put this out kind of abruptly, a little on the DL.
A little bit on the down low. It was like a Beyonce. It was like, boom, it's here. Well, honestly, Whiskey Hollow has kind of turned into a rock and roll machine, and I cannot control wants to go.
Yeah.
And that is totally okay. But I've been missing the soft side of things. So the song you just heard was by Gregory Alan Isakov, who is one of my biggest influences. And I was missing writing music like that because that's what the Whiskey Hollow started off as. And so I thought, I'm going on this solo tour to kind of promote Whiskey Hollow and promote music and try to find some good routing for us, so I should put out an EP. And through a really random set of circumstances, I was able to board myself up in a mansion for like 7 days or something like that. And it was in the middle of the Appalachian Hills in Pennsylvania, and it's from the 1700s. And so I spent 2 days there alone by myself. And then we had my friend Steve, my recording engineer, came, and we produced a 6-track EP. And it's all based around, it was just songs that I wrote while I was there. All of them were written there. They were all recorded there. Wow. And there's actually an element of the house I inherited. And this giant house with all this history had just been sitting there.
This sounds like a Netflix series.
It's pretty much what happened.
I love it.
It's pretty much happened. And so now they've decided that they wanted to turn it into a retreat for artists, visual artists, authors, musicians, and we were actually the first group to go in and do it. So
beautiful.
They fed us, and it was wonderful. And I got to talk to the owner of the house for my blog, and it was just like all sorts of wonderful. And
so awesome.
We honestly didn't even know we were going to name it after the mansion. It was just such a inspiring experience that we felt led to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you work with a lot of different artists, musicians, and bands to either do vocal coaching for them or producing. In a project like this, where you're really getting it done within a very small window of time, you told me earlier, about 3 weeks.
Yes.
Who are the people that you kind of look to for advice on something like this? Because you don't have a ton of time, but it's a very memento of the moment, sort of, more than, a very, tactical, thought out process.
Yes, it was not thought out at all.
Yeah.
we made it, and I went on tour 3 weeks later, so we were like, I wanted to have it out before I left for the West Coast, and I leaned on my producer and recording engineer / business partner / life partner, Steve Perino from Compass Audio. He's just my rock in all situations. So he was there for most of it. And we would just get up in the morning and we'd work from the 7 a.m. until midnight. And we ended up cranking out everything. It was just kind of leaned on friends, leaned on family, and leaned on my Patreons a lot, my Patreon supporters. They helped a lot and just made me feel like I wasn't a crazy person for doing it, Yeah,
no, that's an amazing opportunity. So most of the songs that we're going to hear tonight are off of the EP.
All of them.
All of them.
Let's make it happen.
And what's the first one that we're going to hear?
So the first one is called The River. It's actually the title, not the title track, but the first track on the EP. And it's about my American Idol experience. But it was heavily influenced by the house itself. We actually sampled the creek that runs on the like west side of the property. So the whole album starts with that. So
I'm digging it.
it's kind of cool. Am I playing it for you right now?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Let's do it. Cool. So it goes like this. I'll go out west and kneel at the foot of the table, pray the idols like me best. Then I'll come home either way, 'cause Cleveland, Ohio is a scar on my heart, here to stay. And something about the ocean makes me feel small. When I'm tired and down on my luck, if I've got some it all. And something about the river just makes me feel sane. When I'm spiraling down and nowhere to be found but my brain, I'll go back to the river, always back to the river. Autumn and all of her warmth can't come soon enough. I need her in my blood, could have sworn that I saw pieces of her trapped on the ground. They were encased in snow, so that we may know that she'll come back around. And something about the mountains makes me feel small. When I'm tired and down on my luck, if I've got some it all. And something about the river just makes me feel sane. When I'm spiraling down and nowhere to be found but my brain, I'll go back to the river, always back to the river. That's a song.
That was awesome.
Cool,
That was
thanks.
So good. Your voice has this quality where, like, you know, when they talk about hearing something that gives you goosebumps, like that actual scientific, like, visceral reaction. I feel like I have the visceral reaction to just, like, cry. It's just so beautiful.
Thank you.
At this moment where I'm like, man, I might be making an ugly face right now, but it's just because this is so great, it's so beautiful. Oh
Thank
my gosh.
you. Thank you so much.
So you said that it was a little bit written about your experience on American Idol, and and I had watched an interview that you did recently also with Cleveland.com where you talked briefly about that experience, but kind of how it just opened your eyes about how things are like way different with the music industry and other places.
Yes.
And one of the things that you've been trying to do is go other places with your music and tour and do more networking and more meeting people and seeing what kind of markets you would do well in.
Yeah.
What places do you feel like maybe the Whiskey Hollow might have another, like a home away from home?
So as far as the Whiskey Hollow, our home away from home is Boston and also Nashville, Tennessee. As a solo artist, like Madeline Finn, I just got to play a couple shows in Colorado, and just the way it was received and the way this material has been received has been so great. You know, and after doing Idol and kind of trying to expand and work on pushing very hard, and that's kind of been my whole motif for the past year and a half, has been like, this is my job now. I better do it and do it as a job. And as much as I love that, I realized very quickly after my experience with Idol that, you know, anything that you are meant to do, you don't have to strive or push that hard. You just have to do it and show up and be your best, and it all kind of works out. And so I think Colorado for me was one of those places. It was like I showed up, I played, I did my best, and it was just so well received. And I'm happy to be going back sometime in the spring, and you know, it's awesome. So
Is it surprising to you that that maybe the solo material is received super duper well in some places where you think maybe the Whiskey Hollow wouldn't work as well in?
Oh yeah,
I always get really surprised by the people who end up kind of coming out to shows, or what the demographic that the people it really connects with, you know?
Yeah, it's so different. I mean, you know, Whiskey Hollow could do great in Nashville, but me as a solo artist, you know, it wouldn't be nearly the same. Or Boston, the Whiskey Hollow slays. Like just as just being a full band, but when I play solo, it's not very, people aren't as attentive.
Sure.
And I think it's interesting and really kind of speaks volumes about how independent and wonderful and beautiful each city is in its own right. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, I know you have a couple more tracks that you want to play for us, so let's keep on rolling.
Let's roll it out.
What's the next one we're gonna hear?
So this one's the second track on the EP, and it's called "Win the Girl." Well, we can talk. You know what? Actually, I want to see if you can guess what it's about. This is one of the first songs that I wrote where it's more focused on lyrical content and less like poetic. Try to figure out what it is. It's like, I'm hoping it might actually be pretty apparent. So we'll talk about it afterwards.
Sure.
But yeah, it's called "Win the Girl." Take your medication and you'll feel okay. Seems like the same song and dance every other day. Yeah, I'm walking on pins and needles, marching evermore. Then holding my breath, praying she will come home. Now tell me, does love have a line? Or do you learn to tell yourself that you'll be alright? Heart racing fast will be just fine. Now the copper on my finger said I was the one. Yeah, she covered up the keep on in the Grand Canyon. And I can honestly say I don't want no one else. But in the same breath, honey, you'll need some help. Now tell me, does love have a line? Or do you learn to tell yourself that you'll be just fine? Heart racing fast will be alright. Now she's a strong and anchored woman, whether she'll admit it or not. Yeah, she sails at raised and blooming. Oh, she's a light that shines through the dark. Oh, she's a light that shines through the dark. Oh, she's a light that shines through the dark. Oh, 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 Ooh. Now tell me, does love have a line? Or do you learn to tell yourself that you'll be just fine? Heart racing fast will be alright. Now don't think for a second that I'm giving up. Yeah, I'm proud to be the one to fill her loving cup. And even in the worst times, I'm stuck like glue. 'Cause when you win the girl, you win her sorrows too. Yeah, when you win the girl, you win her sorrows too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Was there a time that you kind of said to yourself that you wanted to do maybe a more literal kind of interpretation song, or what like led you to kind of get less abstract maybe about things?
If I'm being quite honest, it's the time I've spent in Nashville.
Okay.
I've been kind of back and forth there, spending several weeks out of the month there for the past year and a half, right? And basically, it's kind of a challenge there. And I also started listening to a guy named Jason Isbell, and his lyric writing is very it paints a picture and it transports you, and it's not quite as poetic, for lack of a better word. With Gregory, it's totally you have no idea what he's saying. So
Yeah.
I like taking both approaches. So it's kind of just me trying to try my hand at it.
You started kind of as a couple of years ago as a vocal coach at School of Rock, and also just around town and helping out adults as well as kind of school-aged kids, right? But you really have been working a lot also with people doing writing as well.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that, because that also plays into some of the work, the day job kind of stuff that you have going on.
And
it's all a day job.
It's
but
all,
yeah.
it's all, and it's interesting. So I quit my day job, quote unquote, in May, and I made a decision probably about a month ago that I was gonna slow down on the coaching. So I really haven't been doing much coaching and producing other than some vocal coaching in studio here and there for local bands that I really believe in. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like helping people write, and it's not even just helping write songs because let's take Bro Dylan. I did not write any of their songs, but I went into their rehearsals and I arranged some stuff and talked about dynamics and things like that are important to me. But some of the most rewarding work is taking somebody who's not a musician, some of my old students from School of Rock who were adults, and say, hey, you've got this day job, you've got some days where you're just not making it through. Let me show you how to cope with it through music. And so it's been really cool to use songwriting as almost like an incentive to be more proficient with voice and be more proficient with your instrument. And it's really rewarding to just see some of the things that come out of the minds of people that aren't thinking musically all the time.
Yeah.
So, and it's beautiful. So
yeah, I feel like that would be such a challenge, but I feel like you make it seem really attainable, how to teach creativity and teach writing. So that's amazing.
Yeah. It's more like drawing it out. It's more just, it's helping people realize that it's there.
Yeah. Well, you're obviously have a plethora of creativity and lots of things to say. So
yeah, no, it's I love it. I just actually did a big I don't know if I would consider myself a hippie or whatever, but I've been kind of falling more into spirituality, and I did a really interesting exercise where I kind of just assessed my values as a human, and my fundamental values and what really matters to me, and one of the biggest things was creativity. So
yeah,
that's cool that people think of me that way. I love that. But
was it one of those personality tests?
No,
sometimes you have to take those.
Really
I know
you're right. You're right. No, but it was actually me just kind of I sat down and I got the idea from a podcast called The Minimalists, who are awesome and very helpful. But you write down your your foundational values, your core values, your minor values, and then values that are imaginary or not really helpful. Mm-hmm. And so it was a really good assessment because anytime I go to make a decision now, I'm like, does this line up with my values? And it's cool because creativity and passion is one of my fundamentals. It's one of my foundational values, and it's one of the things I build my life on. And to help other people, grow that muscle is really cool. So, yeah, that's cool.
Let's hear. Well, first, I'm going to remind our listeners that some of the following material may be found objectionable by listeners of the. Wait a minute. Let me do this one more time. Some of the following material may be found objectionable by members of the listening audience. Therefore, listener discretion is strongly advised. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see we've put up a huge banner in front of all of our announcements. So the words that I read often are covered up.
Oh,
but I knew it was somewhere in there in my mental bank. And it took me 3 times.
Lifted it up for you. That was
okay.
phenomenal.
I just wanted to.
I was actually sitting here thinking, like, how did you memorize that? Wow.
Oh my gosh, many, many, many episodes worth
I
of
know.
saying
How many episodes has it been?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not good at math. If I was good at math, I could do a quick number in my head, but it's not
I'm awful at math.
It's not going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, maybe let's do like 2 more songs in a row, and then we'll talk a little bit more even about writing and about the writing that you have coming up that you're going to be doing soon too.
Everything about it.
Cool.
Cool. I think one of the ones I'll play for you is called. Man, so I've been trying to get better at guitar, and the drummer of the Whiskey Hollow is actually one of the best guitar players I've ever met. So Tom Stankiewicz, who's also at the mansion when we recorded this, came down just to hang out and play some stuff on the record. He wrote the chords and the progression to this song I'm going to play for you, and I don't know why I feel led to play it. I just want to play it. I've been getting into like astrology more.
Yeah.
So like most of the most important women in my life are Virgos.
Okay.
And so I just was like, let me play with that for a little bit
and
think about it. So yeah, this is called Virgo. There's lyrics and melodies by me and guitar and chords by Mr. Tom Stankiewicz. So, which is the best name ever. Now you sit between the mountains and you think about what you did to that girl. And you savor every bit of light that you got left. She's going down, sun's going down. Oh, Virgo. Ooh. Oh, Virgo. Ooh. Now is freedom something that I want? Is freedom something that can be bought? I don't think so. Can we wrap it up in moving parts? Can we wrap it up in moving cars? I don't think so. But we can wrap it up in Virgo. Ooh. We can wrap it up in Virgo. Ooh. I plant my feet into the earth. I feel the dirt. I feel my worth. I plant my feet with the dirt. I feel my worth in Virgo. Ooh, we can wrap it up in Virgo. Ooh. Yeah, that's Virgo. And then one more, right?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Let's do one more. So it would make the most sense, I suppose, to end with the title track, Coleraine Mansion. This one is really cool because it's a song that was very much inspired by the house. The rest of them came while I was in the house. I wrote all of them while I was there. But this one was truly like of the house, if that makes sense. So yeah. Poplar towers over the attic means it's been there for some time. Witnessed things fall apart, feared it may be the last of its kind. Seen brothers fall in sacrifice and laid underneath my feet. Still vigilantly stood watch since 1780. Now how can I thank you, you innocent thing, for holding your ground? Coleraine Mansion, she's still standing strong. Spirits, they don't bother me. I think they like the songs I sing. They've only knocked a couple times just to remind me to get out and breathe. And they don't seem used to company, but they're sliding over graciously, keeping her calm most of the night long, so we can get some sleep. And how can I thank you, you beautiful things, for sharing your ground? Coleraine Mansion, she's still standing strong. And then there'd be a guitar solo like a yeah, how can I thank you, you beautiful grounds, for holding us down? Yeah.
That is a really good question to ask. I'm thinking in my head as you're saying that. So not all of the songs that are on the album are just acoustic.
So actually, they're all full.
Okay.
So it's kind of like full quotation marks for those of you listening. There's acoustic guitar. We kept it very minimal. There's no more than 16 tracks on each one. One of them is literally just ukulele and voice. One is just acoustic with some ambient guitar work, and we got some.
I'm assuming that's a uke song.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
So I'm looking at
we have drums on everything. We've got the groundskeeper at the mansion is a Berkeley trained guitarist, so he played on a bunch of stuff, which was really cool. So he actually did the guitar solo in Coleraine Mansion and sang on it.
Wow.
Yeah, no, there were 3 of us actually recording, and I mean there's bass on a couple tracks, there's electric guitar on most tracks, but what I tried to do was make it very minimal and make it more about the song and the way it feels other than parts. So no, they're all full technically.
Yeah, and there's still such a breadth of range like within them as well. Like when we're talking about Whiskey Hollow's more of like the rock band, like the crazy thing. I mean, it still has such a breadth between the soft night quiet songs and like the bigger fuller ones just naturally too. Yeah. And I wanted to talk a little bit to you even more about writing. I know we talked about abstract versus very literal, but another thing that that you had talked about before was kind of being really interested in like eventually writing from a different perspective than your own.
One of these days. It's so difficult,
Some of the songs kind of almost grasp to that.
We're getting
I feel
there.
like Virgo or, you know what I mean? The things that are a little more abstract kind of lean that way.
Well, it's also really cool because it's left up to the listener.
Yeah.
In my head, those are totally about me and my situations.
Sure.
But writing someone else's story is so difficult for me. Which I think we brought up the thing about my grandparents. So my whole goal for the next year is to write this record based on my grandparents and what they've been through, because I feel like it'll be a great way for me to like learn how to write stories because they're so personal and so close to me and so important. So I've got 2 down and keep writing. Hopefully they'll be done by the end of the next year.
Have you talked to your grandparents about this?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, obviously you've put it out there on not social media, but
interviews and things like that. So yeah, they know about it. Actually, how it all came about is on my way back from Nashville from my big audition with Katy Perry and such. My mom was driving, and all my friends that came with me were asleep in the back of the van, and it was just me and my Nana kind of talking. And she was telling me all these amazing stories that I'd never heard before about my grandfather and, like during the Cuban Missile Crisis and just crazy stuff that I had never, ever thought would be things that I would hear, if that makes sense. And I thought about it. I was like, man, if I don't tell people about this, it's just going to go away. And so I was like, maybe instead of, doing video blogs or something like that about the stories, I would write songs about them. Yeah. And then for my birthday, about a month or 2 later, my Nana gave me a book that she'd been writing in since I was born. And there's all these prompts of questions and full handwritten answers. Yeah. And so I got a lot of material from that.
That's amazing. And
if I ever have a question, if I ever have a question about because I just wrote a song about their honeymoon because they went to Seattle for the World's Fair. And I just did the exact same road trip that they did when they first went there. And literally followed their footsteps and didn't even know it the whole time. Yeah. So I called up my Nana. I was like, hey, can you tell me more about your honeymoon and stuff like that? And so it was just, it's really cool to be this close and this communicative with them now. Yeah. Because you never know how long you've got.
It's so funny too, because I feel like it's a little bit of this kind of romanticizing the not famous, just the regular person, and kind of, elevating them to this level of almost mythical stories. Yes. Those sound, very kind of mythical. Yeah. And I always think when I do this to my grandparents that they think I'm crazy, that I'm obsessed with them or something. But
they know
I think that's a really wonderful compliment. So
yeah, man, I'm obsessed with my grandparents. They are amazing. I don't know who I would be without them, because I was raised by a single mom. And it's her mom and dad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is amazing.
They're my heart and soul through and through. So.
And you are going to sit down soon and start writing some new stuff. You're telling me about a barn adventure.
Oh, yes. I'm spending some time in a barn for the next couple months doing a very secret project. And then I'll be also writing some songs for that record.
Well, I hope the new record is going to be called Secret Barn. And I
should just keep writing about places. Yeah, but no.
That's also a good point too, though. I mean, it seems like kind of getting out of your normal setting to a certain extent does kind of help you at least think of like
Yeah.
a goal or
Mhm.
clears your head.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, just being at the mansion, I could wake up, make coffee, and literally write all day long because I didn't have any place to be. There was no like cell phone service, so you couldn't do anything
yeah,
except
that's
except
important.
write. And it's a couple acres of property, so there's a lot of stuff to do around there, and it's right on the I'm gonna get it wrong, and they're gonna get so mad at me. The Pitt campus, I think.
Okay.
Penn State. It's Penn State.
Okay.
It's Penn State. I'm sorry. It's Penn State. But it's right on. It's like right outside the outskirts of that campus. So it's kind of cool because you could go in there if you really wanted to hang out and see some people.
It's kind of get out of
See some real people for a second. But yeah, no, the whole experience was crazy. I mean, like the one line in Coleraine Mansion is all about the ghosts and stuff. So I not really a massive ghost believer, but I am now, I guess. There was a portion of that whole experience where I kind of felt the presence, and I was like, maybe I should just like address it and say like, hey guys, what's up? So I felt crazy doing this, but I was talking to myself. I was like, if you guys don't want me to be here, just knock a couple times. I'll leave. It's cool. And so we wrote everything and recorded everything up in the attic, which was like kind of a scary place to be. And
it's
giant,
attics are pretty
old
scary, yeah.
mansion. And so we were I was in the middle of writing that song and getting a little frustrated. And I just heard like this big knock, and I was like, got it. We're good. So I went outside and had a breath of fresh air, came back in and finished the tune, you know. And actually on Virgo, in the very end of it, you can hear knocks as well. So it's kind of cool. We caught some of it on tape. So yeah.
That's awesome.
And
a little
crazy.
Terrifying.
Crazy person. Just whatever. No worries.
But it is really, really cool. I love the art for this this CD cover.
Thanks.
Here.
That's all the mention. Stephen Patinglio. He did all of Envoy's stuff, and he's done pretty much everything. The Whiskey Hollow is mostly from my tattoo artist Liz at Collective, but Stephen does all of our digital stuff. He does all the shirt designs, but he actually took a photo of the house and turned it into a drawing.
Yeah.
And then made the logo. Oh, actually, Liz made the logo, believe it or not. And then that photo is a real photo of me in the attic. So
nice.
That he kind of did some contrast on. Yeah.
I see now. Okay,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah, so it was a really cool, just such an interesting, wonderful experience, and I had no idea it would impact me as much as it did. But I never want to write a record another way than just seclusion, you know.
For people who may have just tuned in, we're talking to Madeline Finn, who just put out a new EP. It's called Coleraine Mansion. And where can people find the album online, or if they even want to go as far as to order it, where could they do those types of things?
All the places that you can find music for the most part. We're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we're on iTunes. You can buy physical copies of the CD on Amazon, and you can also go to the website, which is www.MadelineFinnOfficial, if you so happen to want to do that.
And you did mention as well that you have a Patreon, which is, I want to talk like a little bit about that, because you have mentioned that it's just been so insanely helpful for you.
God. I don't know what I would do without it. Yeah, honestly,
it almost feels like you probably have like a little group of cheerleaders sort of
pretty
with
much
you
how it
at
feels.
all time, which is great. You know, I don't know, kind of tell me a little bit about that process, or like how you decided to move forward with doing that, because I think it does take a big investment, even on the artist part, in being like, you know, well, I'm going to do this, but then I'm also going to commit to giving this kind of thing back to people, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And also there's like sometimes a negative connotation within the community. You know, some musicians and artists really don't like the idea of somebody making a Patreon account. And that was something I wrestled with, because, you know, just image, or the same reason people don't like to do Kickstarters or things like that, because they don't want to feel like they are, you know, begging and asking.
Sure.
So I had a friend, my friend Cole from California, was telling me forever that I needed to get a Patreon account. And it's like, no, maybe I won't. I don't think I will. And then I finally made the decision. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it up and see what happens. And then within, like, I don't think I've even had it for a year. I got 45 followers or patrons, and I get almost $800 a month from it. So it helps me pay my rent and my utilities. so I can travel and do all these things, and I get to
Yeah.
run. It's kind of cool because like while we were at the mansion, I got to do live streams of our workflow and live listen throughs with them because we had Wi-Fi, thank God. But it's like this little group of cheerleaders, and it's so great because people give what they can, and it's not like if you're not giving a certain amount, it seems so wonderful to even have somebody just be like, hey, here's $1 a month for you doing something that is adding value to my life. And I've got a couple people on there that are just so generous and so inspirational and wonderful and supportive, and my mom is only one of them. So but every day I'm just so thankful for the support system that I've been granted, and just my little army of people that believe in what I'm doing, and that the things I have to say are going to make an impact in a really positive and significant way.
You have just so many awesome projects, honestly, lined up,
So
and
many.
have been kept so busy. So I feel like it's, you know what, it's a blessing that you didn't win American Idol, because how would you
Agreed.
be doing all of this other other stuff right now?
Exactly. And the whole thing with that whole experience, because I was really upset. Like, I got the rug pulled out from under me. I thought I was doing really well.
Yeah.
I thought I had nailed my last thing.
I also wanted to ask you too, why did you choose like this past year to apply? Because you've been eligible for a while.
Yes.
Like, you could have done it in the past.
Do you want to know the honest answer?
Yeah.
And I might get reamed for it, but I'm going to tell you the truth.
Okay.
They found me.
Oh, really?
So
awesome.
for all those shows, there's a lot of casting producers that run around and just look for people that are like. So I actually got a call, like an email, I guess, and somebody had seen a video of me from So Far.
Yeah,
Cleveland.
That video is awesome.
Thanks.
I know exactly which one they're talking
The
about.
Seasons one,
Yeah.
So they saw that video and they said, "Hey, would you like to come and audition for the executive producers?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll totally do it." And they were like, "Oh, well, we're gonna be in Cleveland this day." I was like, "Oh, sorry, I'm not there. I'm on tour." And they're like, "Well, what about this day or this day in Nashville?" And I was like, it just so happens that I'm in Nashville that day, so I took it. I took it as a serendipity, and I decided to show up and play some songs, and it just started this crazy journey, and I'm so thankful for it. But I realized very quickly that it was not going to be my path, and especially when it all got pulled out from under me, it made me realize that this whole music thing and this whole positivity and inspirational thing that I'm trying to do is so much bigger than like trying to just be like, look how good I am as a vocalist. It would have been a great platform to be able to talk to more people, but it's not where I'm needed right now. And that was a tough pill to swallow, but I am so thankful that I get to do what I'm doing and do it in the way that I want to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That makes so much sense. You did see that focus in this season of having a lot more like original singer-songwriters.
Yeah, there's a lot of us. It's funny, Maddie, who won, her and I talk a couple times a week, and she's awesome, but she did a bunch of original material, and there was a big emphasis on original singer-songwriters, which was so nice to see.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, you couldn't have been on with a group of like, you know what I mean? This was like the season that was like really like as tough as far as people bringing original content to the show.
Yeah,
so.
and to get as far as I did doing mainly original material was amazing to me. I felt so grateful. And everybody who was, since it was a new season on a new network, like it was the first season on ABC, a lot of the talent was different and just so interesting, and everybody was really genuine. I never ran into anybody who was like sour or anything like that. So it was a great experience.
You're also working on doing writing for television and like doing licensing and things like that, which I think that is such a great experience to have, especially if you had already been sort of working on that project, or how did that kind of come up?
So it just so happened that when I got to do the stuff with ABC, I had this idea to partner up with my old pal Steve from Envoy and do some sync licensing and writing for sync, and I signed up for some classes, and I was like, oh man, now I have these contacts, so I can perhaps use them to benefit the Cleveland music scene. So we're you'd either call it a licensing agency or a sync house. So we either write songs to shop for TV, film, or ads, or we do custom work for TV ads, and then we also take exclusively local artists. Like we try to really focus on Cleveland music, and we take those bands and artists and we say, hey, we really love this song. We think it'd do really well on this ad or for this music library. Would you mind if we shopped it and that sort of thing? So we're hoping over the next couple of years to have enough growth that we can provide a pretty steady stream of income to local artists.
That's amazing.
It's really like become such a passion project for me to make sure that our community is funded. And it's so important.
I remember like a couple years ago, people really saying like, well, that's how like Welshly Arms got their big break
100%.
was through the commercial, and it's a great way to to make some money for
It's really
something
nice.
you already have, and instead of getting Beyonce just to do another commercial again, then
it's
get some
great.
local singers on
great.
that. That's awesome. What other maybe shows locally do you have coming up, either solo or as the Whiskey Hollow, so that people can come and see you live if they haven't seen you in a little while?
Well, speaking of Welshly Arms, we are actually, the Whiskey Hollow is going to be doing direct support for them at the House of Blues on November 24th, and I am so excited. I can't wait.
That is a crazy night for local live music.
What's happening that night, too?
So
much.
Like a ton of stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, just a ton of part-time lovers that are having their
Nice.
Record release, and then Punch Drunk Tagalongs.
Oh, God, I love them so much.
I think that people come out for everything. It really is
cool.
Very heartwarming to me recently how many people that I've been seeing out at shows, all new faces, all kinds of different groups of people. Yeah. So that's my pep talk to Cleveland is like, thank you so much. Everyone's been doing such a great job of coming out to stuff. So.
It's wonderful. I mean, and I tell people when I travel, no place has the supportive fan base like we have. This is one of the best places in the whole world for local and live music. But so we're playing with Welshly Arms on the 24th, and then actually a week before that we'll be at the House of Blues as well, but as Madeline Finn. And big secret time, we'll actually be doing that gig full band as well. Cool. So we'll have all the percussion elements, all the ambient guitar, and even some bass and ukulele on it.
And that's actually supporting. I'm like gonna
John
forget
Nolan.
His name. Yeah, from Taking Back Sunday.
Yes,
so
that's
really cool too.
So we're supporting John Nolan for that. Actually, and then those are really honestly the two big ones that we're really trying to push right now. And for anybody who knows anybody in Youngstown, we'll be playing for the YSU like one of their events on the 8th. So. Yeah, as Whiskey Hollow, but yeah, so those the 14th and the 24th of November are going to be the big ones.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. This has been really, really amazing. One more time, Coleraine Mansion is available online now on all of the major music platforms. And you can even listen to it on YouTube. I
totally.
listened to some of the songs that way to preview it just the other day, and I was really happy. They sounded really, really great. So
thanks. Awesome. Thanks so much.
This was like self-released,
yes,
too, as well, right?
100%.
Any plans of trying to
shop it,
or or you're not shopping yourself? You're only
I the plans as far as like label support and things like that. We'll be honest, we've been talking with some people, but in this current moment, I think that release is going to maintain a very DIY special vibe for me. I don't think any of those songs will be re-recorded a different way. That's how they are meant to be listened to in that order as those productions. But who knows what you're going to see within the next couple months, next year or so. We'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really excited to see what happens because there are so many great coals in the fire that
several coals.
Something's got to happen. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
live
for having
from Cleveland, me. And I hope we'll see you again sooner rather than later.
Yes, please.
So.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Next week we have on B-Loop, who is actually Eddie Marflack, who we talk about a lot on this show because a lot of people play at Blank Slate, his venue in Elyria. And so he'll be on next week. He's actually doing a kind of an experimental set next week with this new project, looping bass over and over and over again. So awesome. We will see how that ends up, because it's a very new project, and I'm really excited to hear what he has in store for us. But that will be next week, B-Loop. Because it's so new, I don't believe that there are recordings of it quite yet. So we're going to go out today with a track from a band that I really, really like, another kind of experimental band. This is Battles with their song Africastle. Thanks so much for tuning in to Live from Cleveland tonight. You're listening to WRUW-FM 91.1 Cleveland. And again, some of the following material may be found objectionable to members of the listening audience. Therefore, listener discretion is strongly advised.